Welcome to Sam Nelson Live. Very excited to talk about competition, spiffs, and incentives with Mark McWatters, VP of Sales at Ambition. Before we get started, if you want a recording of this, all you have to do is like it, and in your recent activities, you will see a recording right there. So, welcome, Mark McWatters. Very excited to have you on the show today, and very excited to talk about competition, spiffs, incentives with the guy at Ambition himself.
Yeah, excited to be here, Sam. Outreach and Ambition have been good partners for years, and glad we're together to talk about a really fun topic.
Cool. Yeah, this will be really fun. So here's the agenda. We're going to talk about a few different types of competitions, a few examples of things that we do personally, and we're going to talk through them. And then we're going to go on some other thoughts on incentives, different ways to think about doing competitions to make sure that you are getting most of them. So we will start with some different types. So we'll go number one with the blitz. So different people have different ways of doing it. The way we always did it was with what we would call pomodoros. And if you know what a pomodoro is, it's basically like you focus really hard for 25 minutes and then you rest for 5 minutes, then you focus hard for 25 minutes. So we will do a call blitz version of that where we go all in dialing for 25 minutes and we take a break. And during that 25-minute stint, we would get points. And our point system was this. Whoever got the most dials in that 25-minute segment got a point. Every meeting set got a point. And it would reset every single 25-minute thing. And then we would add them up at the end, and the winner would get some gift card or something. Usually when we're doing this, it's some kind of like gift card for lunch or something like that. But yeah, that's how we do it. How do you guys do blitzes?
Yeah, well, what I love about yours, 25 minutes is really specific. It's also really short. There's no one that can't bust their tail for 25 minutes. The way our team at Ambition for blitzes with our sales development team, so they have 2 standing blitzes every week, Tuesday and Thursday. Those start, and they're calling across all time zones, so we tend to block those in the middle of the day. So think like a 1 o'clock Eastern or 11 o'clock Eastern time to start. Ours are 1 hour in length, 1 point for call, 3 points for connect, 5 points for meeting set. So clearly we're emphasizing we want to set meetings in our world, SALs, but we also want the activity. And if you don't get a meeting set, you still have the potential to win around those calls and those connects.
Right on. Cool. And then another thing that you mentioned, which is important and easy to forget, is make sure you allow for a 5-minute setup time.
Yeah, you definitely need to tell your sales development team the beginning of the blitz is not the time to research, right? They need to come prepared with their list if they want a shot to win. So schedule setup time. Make sure they know that expectation exists. They have time to do it. So once they walk in, head down, you're ready to start.
Cool. All right. Cool. And then we were talking when we were preparing for this. You're telling me about Joseph at High Spot. And do you want to add some color to this picture here?
Yeah. Shout out to Joseph McHugh at High Spot. Our CSM, Jason, who works with High Spot, sent me this video that Joseph recorded. It's him with his pug and a chain and cash spread across his table. And he opens this video to his team and says, "Hey team, I'm passionate about 2 things, supporting local business and ripping effing dials." And his pug is just walking around with a chain on the table. And then he announces his competition for the team. The takeaway there, a lot of people are going to hear ripping effing dials and laugh. I certainly did. But the takeaway is he's getting creative. He's having fun. He's putting himself out there for a team right now that's completely remote. Anything you can do to drive engagement, fun in a competition can be really valuable if you're like me, literally in the corner of your bedroom working.
Right. That's awesome. Very cool. And then, and then we're going to segue into setting the culture. So one thing that we do at Outreach, which is very unique, is we will do something to help SDRs get over call reluctance, right? So for us, we hire like a lot of new grads or a lot of people that have come from totally different experiences, and call reluctance is a really big thing. And what we will do is we call it the Agoji Pizza Challenge. where our team of new SDRs is called the Agoji. That's why it's called that. But what is it? So basically what we do is we get our brand new SDRs on the phone right away. This is their first call session, and they will call strangers over the phone and attempt to sell them a pizza. And we generate a list of like people that are outside of our ICP. Of course, we're not calling like our important prospects. We're calling people that are outside of ICP who have like rejected an SDR in the past. So we know that we'll have a high connect rate. We'll give them all these lists of people we know that they connect with, and they attempt to sell them a pizza over the phone. And then if they sell a pizza over the phone, then we just order a pizza to them and say pay on delivery. So it's pretty easy to do.
I love this. It is so low pressure, and everybody who's ever led sales development is familiar with phone fear. Hell, I've even been there, right? Like, take me back to being an appointment setter for a mobile home company in Knoxville, Tennessee. Like, I was scared to call people, right? And getting over that call reluctance is so critical. I love the pizza example. That's something we should think about at Ambition.
Yeah. So, and this, like, a lot of times no one sells a pizza. It's very hard to sell a pizza over the phone. And so basically it becomes a competition of, if you sell a pizza, great, but the tiebreaker is whoever gets rejected the most. Like, the whole point of this competition is just getting used to rejection. And we say, hey, like, if you can get over like the most awkward call and cold calling experience ever right at the beginning, it just gets so much easier. And you realize, even though it's the most awkward cold calling experience that you're going to have, it's actually not that bad. Like, the anticipation of getting rejected is so much worse than the actual thing, that we just like give them a good healthy dose of it at the beginning, and you just realize, hey, I can do
That's
this.
so freeing, right? Like, you realize it's not the end of the world. You realize you really didn't piss people off when you called, most likely. Yeah, you got no, but also later on in your career, one of the most important things you can talk about is how you overcame failure and how you walked into a role where you got told no every single day, multiple times a day, and still created success. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, if you want the script for that, you can comment script. I can send you the script to that. And then, yeah, also, if you want the official rules to what we do for that, just comment rules. I'll send that to you as well. Cool. So, all right. So let's jump into tournaments. So this is something that you guys, this is one of your specialties. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I love. Okay, so what you're looking at right now is a bracket style fantasy football competition. This is actually how Ambition started now 6 years ago. The idea of, hey, all my friends are playing fantasy football at work, spending tons of time adjusting their roster. How do we bring that same kind of energy to work? And salespeople, this is natural, right? You want competition. And so we created Fantasy Football for Sales. Well, now that is one example of a competition you can run in the platform. And the example you're looking at here is actually an old one where I'm featuring myself losing, trying to have some humility here. But this was when our AE team a few years ago went from being heavy inbound to outbound. And so we ran a quarter-long competition around outbound meetings set. The reason this matters with fantasy, because it was over a quarter, is that each week the competition reset. So I could play Sam week 1 and lose, but then I would go play Dan in week 2 if I could win. Then you're adding up your record, which ultimately goes into a playoff, just like fantasy football. And all you got to do is get in the playoff, right? And you got a shot. So once you get in the playoff, like you're seeing here, then you're competing to win. But this quarter-long competition on meeting set, as an example, is a great way to change behavior, because it's not something that's just happening, in a 1-hour blitz. There's value there. I know we'll get to that, but the bracket-style format can be really valuable too.
Awesome. Cool. Did you want to, you were talking about how the Braves do it. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So the Atlanta Braves are a great partner of ours, and a team that we certainly support internally at Ambition. And they run the same kind of bracket-style format where they're competing on activity and objective score. Activity score and objective score are one single metric that makes up multiple metrics. Okay, so think about, how do I create a super score that's going to drive the most important KPIs at my team? So if you're in sales at the Braves and you're running this week-long bracket-style format, The activity score is comprised of incoming calls, outgoing calls, personal prospecting opportunities. Think like someone I found that I've added to a sequence or that I'm outbound calling to. And between those three metrics weighted, it creates their activity score. Similar to the competition that I just talked about with a blitz, you create that super score, you drive multiple metrics.
Cool. All right. Cool. And by the way, if you want the official rules to the Braves competition, just comment Braves and we'll send that over to you. Okay, but let's talk about one metric or multiple at the same time, because my bias has always been keep it simple. Let's keep it just focused on whatever they're being compensated on, just so their focus is focused in one place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see the value in doing multiple at the same time. How do you avoid creating like I don't know, false incentives or unintended incentives from that? Like gaming the system.
So this is a question we get a lot, because most people, when they think about I want to run a competition for my team, think I want one metric in a blitz, like bring some energy, some noise to the sales floor. And yes, there is value to that. But what the Harvard Business Review studied ambition for was the idea that this one single metric could drive multiple KPIs at once in a team setting. So when you have this activity score, in this example for the Harvard Business Review, it was outbound calls that resulted in an appointment, referrals, and then this company had a transfer to sale KPI, or you could like live transfer somebody to a salesperson. And as you're seeing here, there were huge results on this activity score, because when you get an 18% spike in calls, you double the calls that result in an appointment. The number of transfers go up 8-fold and referrals go up 200%. All of a sudden, that fun competition really matters to the business. So when you're trying to drive real behavior change, we at Ambition will encourage you to lengthen the competition and drive it around that super score of your most important KPIs. To your point, Sam, on simplicity, don't overcomplicate it. You don't need to create 10 metrics they're competing on. Make it 3, make it 4. That's still easy enough for someone to know what are my most important KPIs.
Cool. Right on. And then, okay, another thing that I wish I had thought of this, I wish this was my original idea, but I learned about it from you, is go raffle style. It sounds like a little bit gimmicky, but it's actually like a really brilliant idea. And so like as an example, you would do something like, hey, whoever books the most meetings in a given day, or whoever is the winner of the competition for a day, gets a raffle ticket. And there's multiple chances to win, even though there's ultimately one winner. And what I really like about this idea is, number one, it adds layer of excitement. Every time you're like spinning the wheel or drawing and announcing someone, it's just fun. But also, this is a very good way to keep everybody in the game, because that's like the one big problem with the competitions. If you say, okay, whoever gets the most meetings this month wins, yep. Like, okay, there are a few people who know it's going to be one of them. It's going to be one of the top performers. Yep. And they probably would have been the top anyway. And not that you don't get a lift there, but like as a manager, the place where you get a big lift as a team is in that middle group. Like, tend to kind of be low performers, top tend to be kind of the top, but in the middle, that's where you can really improve the productivity of the team.
It is so important to think about the middle 70% of the team. And yeah, when I first heard raffle, I'm like, am I with my grandparents, like at the circus? Like, I don't know, that doesn't seem very exciting. But if you really think about the idea, and by the way, this is what the Braves are doing, and this is what Joseph over at High Spot was doing too, create a threshold by which you get a ticket. So maybe it's not the top performer of the day. Maybe it is if you set 3 appointments today, which is a really good day as a ex-company sales development rep, you get a raffle ticket. Well, then your middle performer, your bottom performer still know they have a chance to win, but also your top performer knows I'm probably putting in more tickets than everybody else. So while it may sound archaic as a raffle, this is a great way to drive that middle 70% of your team. And as a little asterisk to this, if someone comes to Ambition and says, hey, I want to run competitions so I can motivate my top performers, we'll very quickly say your top performers are probably motivated without ambition. Like, let's talk about your middle 70% and how we drive that group even 1%, 2%, because that can be a huge lift to your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. And yeah, I love the raffle thing because it gets to lift out the middle and low performers without celebrating mediocrity or being unfair to the top performers. So it really covers all your bases there. So I think that's genius. Cool. Next section is showing the team who is boss. And by that, I mean do something as a manager that is kind of like embarrassing or kind of funny. So one thing you were telling me about is FedEx managers would not shower for an extended period of time as a reward. I was like, that sounds like maybe that would be like a punishment if they didn't do well, but some kind of reward.
This was hilarious to me because you think about a company like that and you're like, I don't know if they do that kind of thing. And that's really not true at all, because the takeaway here, if you're a leader and you're listening to this, think, how can I put myself out there for my team? And in this example, there were a couple managers who were very well kept all the time, maybe as they should be. And they thought they would put themselves out there on, if, again, team-based, so you're motivating several people still in a head-to-head competition amongst teams, where the loser, didn't get to bathe, still had to come into the office for a couple of days. And that's embarrassing, right? But it's motivational, it's fun. Like, how do you create that kind of energy? Because if you're just giving away a $50 Amazon gift card, like, your team isn't that excited. But if they know that a senior leader in the company or a manager in the company is going to be embarrassed, all right, now I'm paying attention.
That's good. Actually, let's jump over to that was actually my blue hair before it became like an inescapable trademark. Was actually a sales incentive. And we said, hey, if you guys beat the record for new SDRs, I'll dye my hair blue. Actually, funny fact that a lot of people don't know is the blue hair wasn't the first time I'd done an incentive like this. I told my SDRs before this, I said, hey, if you break the record, I'll dye my hair purple, outreach purple. And I always think, what if they would have won and my hair was purple? Would I have been the purple hair guy for the rest of my life? Would I not have? I don't know. Anyway, I'm glad they lost that time and they won when the deal was blue hair. But
I love it. That's such a great example. And we even ran a competition last year where I said I would grow a soul patch and dye it black if we won. The sad part of that story is we didn't get there. So my team is still holding that for later.
That's awesome. And then your leader, Jared, they let the team choose his hairstyle. So similar vein, but there's a picture of it right there.
Yep. Yeah. So this is great. So Jared Houghton is my boss. He's the CRO, co-founder at Ambition. He offered the SDR team. So think about top 3 people at our company, offering the sales development reps an opportunity to shave his head in any format they chose. So this is a 2-week-long competition around calls and connects. The winner on the last day, we have a go-to-market call every Friday where almost the entire company is there together. That sales development rep who won the competition got to tell Jared's wife how to cut his hair. So you're looking at the output here. He also had to keep it for several days. He was on Zoom calls like this. So this was a really fun way to drive that energy again around some meaningful KPIs. But also the big takeaway here, if you're listening, is how do you get your senior leadership just visibility to the competition and paying attention? Can they comment on your competition in Slack or in Ambition that's running? So how do you get those eyes on the competition? Because now everybody's motivated to be seen in this successful light to the big wigs in the C-suite.
Yeah. I think maybe it's easy when you're a leader or a manager to forget how cool that is as an SDR to get recognition from the VP of sales or from senior leadership.
Yeah. If you're a leader right now, take yourself back to when you started and think about those people who are in leadership roles that you do anything to get time with or to be seen in a positive light. It's really simple, and you'll find senior leaders are always, always, always on board to help. If it's going to drive metrics, it takes them 5 seconds to comment on a competition. So use it.
Awesome. Cool. And then one last thing I wanted to do on showing who's boss. This is like one of my favorite incentive stories ever is Steve Ross, my boss, he took all the top performers from the team out to John Howard's, which in Seattle is the best steakhouse in Seattle. It's where you can get that A5 Wagyu beef. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. That's how
I don't either.
But like it's like the beef where they like massage the cows for their whole lives and like they like drink beer and like have great coffee. So anyway, it's like $300 a steak. And Steve said, get whatever you guys want. So of course we all got the $300 steak and we got everything. It was like best dinner we'd ever had, ever. Easy. And we assumed this was all going to be on the company, but Steven never approved it. He put it all on his own card. It's like thousands of dollars for this dinner. And he put it on his own card, and it was like, it just got dead silent. Like you could hear a pin drop, right? And then he talked about like how important this group was and like kind of what our responsibility was to the company in the future and how we're supposed to pay it forward. And it was like really cool. It was like one of the coolest experiences for me, kind of in my SDR experience. And so, yeah, I want to share that. All right. And someone is wanting to come in here. Okay. All right. So yes, working from home.
Work from home, baby.
Okay. Okay. How long should it be? Blitz. So I want to get your take on this. We're going to talk about kind of the 3 different time lengths. Blitz, what are the pros and cons and times you'd use it?
Awesome.
Oh, that was a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, let's get into the blitz. Sorry. All right, so when will we use a one-day blitz? The one-day blitz is we're going to use that to drive a short-term result that we need. Think, hey, we're having a really slow Tuesday afternoon. We've got a big goal out there. We can't afford to fall behind. Let's spin up a competition for our sales development reps around outbound calls. That's really easy. It takes 5 seconds. It creates a lift. Is it a behavior change? No. But does it create some energy and get some visibility on a metric that we need badly? Yes. And so that's when you want to run the blitz is typically, keep that simple 1, maybe 3 combination metrics. Keep it short, like what you and I talked about, 25 minutes, an hour. But this is not the big behavior changer. This is just to drive some energy to your sales floor. And last thing I'll say there is you don't have to give away a prize. Just make it very visible. Put it on TVs. Put it in your Slack channel. Send out email updates. The more visibility you drive, the more engagement you'll have in your competition.
Cool. All right. And then when you do a week to a month?
Yeah, so week to a month is when you're starting to hedge more into that. Okay, I really got to change behavior. There's a priority or initiative at the company that is changing. We're in the middle of COVID, and the way we sell is changing around this one core piece. How can I run a month-long competition around that one core piece and change the way we sell? Again, visibility goes through the roof, recognition goes through the roof around these, and this competition really becomes a communication platform for the leader to drive that change.
Cool. And then 1 quarter. So we rarely do ones that long. Tell me a little about that.
A lot of people miss the quarter, and the key to the quarter is you have to have this bracket style every week reset. You're playing somebody new. Otherwise, you get 3 or 4 weeks into the quarter and people don't care anymore because they're already going to lose. So create this week-to-week, head-to-head style matchup. Depending on the size of the company, you might make that team-based. Team-based is certainly something we encourage a lot. We have companies who are running World Cup style formats across thousands of employees on their 3 most important KPIs. We also have quarter-long fantasy football head-to-head bracket-style competitions. Hey, football is about to start back up. Let's launch a football-style competition while everybody's thinking about the NFL.
Cool. All right, cool. And then you touched on team versus individual base. Do you want to talk a little bit more about the benefits of a team versus individual?
Yeah. So the I'll start with team because team tends to be missed most. The
Mhm.
value of the team-based competition is if Sam and I are on the same team and Sam's the top performer and I'm new or I'm a bottom performer, well now Sam cares more about my performance. And so that peer-to-peer accountability increases and now Sam's walking over to my desk or slacking me to hop on a Zoom and ask, hey man, how can I help? We've got this competition around X metric. Let's talk about what you're doing and maybe I have some suggestions for you. So team-based competition has a ton of value for building that collaboration, but also getting your top performers to care about the bottom performers. If you're going to create an individual competition, there's also a lot of value there too. You just need to create a threshold for winning as well. So yes, celebrate the top performer, but also create a waterline, if you will, on what everyone can earn by getting to a certain attainment level. This won't turn off your top performer because they're still going to try to win the big prize up top, but it also won't turn the middle 70% off because they know, all right, if I really push myself and I hit 120% of my goal or whatever it is, then I can earn that achievement too. I don't have to worry about Sam, who's going to beat me every time we compete.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I like what you said about the team. I certainly, when we've done that at Outreach, I've certainly seen that where the top performers will start coaching the lower performers, and it's really cool. Um, awesome. Let's go to some motivators. So money, obviously, salespeople are money motivated. Money does work, but my feeling has been like that really should be built into like the comp plan, right?
100%.
And so,
Unless you're going to give away like a suitcase full of 20s, your cash competition isn't as valuable as you think it is. And frankly, it's a little lazy. Like really think about what you could do with the cash, and that's how you can make a big impact. Don't get me wrong, we're all money motivated. We want the cash, but more often than not, that gift card, that cash isn't changing behavior.
cool. All right. So one thing that you brought up earlier that I thought was kind of fun, it's kind of like straight money, but a more creative spin on it, was you would do like a get to know you game and you would say, hey, like what would you guys do with $500? And it's just like a get to know you game. And you say, okay, this is the competition. This is what all of you get.
This
Um,
is so easy to pull off. So easy to pull off. Okay, so you have a one-on-one every week. You need to launch a big competition. You're
yeah.
not sure what the prize should be. Every leader's been there. Like, all right, I need something good. Well, you're not sure what the prize should be. Figure out what your budget is. Take that money. Make it a get to know you question. Don't even tell them about the competition. Hey, Sam, uh, if I gave you $300 and you had to spend it on something that was fun, what would you do? When we did this internally, one of my account executives said, he's got two young kids. He said, I'd get a babysitter. I'd take my wife to dinner and this concert that we've been wanting to go to. But it just, it's the logistics of all this is tough to pull off. My light bulb is going off and I'm going, all right, when we run the competition, this is what I told him eventually. You're going to that concert. I'm going to buy the tickets. You're going to dinner with your wife, and Ambition's covering the babysitter. Like, think about that memory, just like Steve taking you guys to the steakhouse that you'll never forget. His company did that. Whereas if I give him the $300 in cash, that's cool for a few days. But then if I ask you in 3 weeks, you forgot it ever happened, right? So if you can create a memory with the cash, let them come up with the idea, even if it's individualized, that can be a huge win and a huge motivator for your sellers.
That's really fun. Actually, as we're talking, I'm thinking this would be a really good thing to do when SDRs are first starting out, because you're doing get to know you games anyway. Say, what would you do if you had to spend $300 on something super fun that you wouldn't normally do? And say, all right, anyone who busts ramp, that's what the prizes are. I love it. That's great. Cool. All right, and then let's go to recognition. And how I say recognition for achievement, it costs little and it's super powerful. Like we put it everywhere. Like people are successful. It's on monitors all over the office. It's on Slack. It is on email, it is in announcements, it is everywhere we can possibly put it. And I just feel like it's really hard to overdo it on public recognition for achievement.
So hard to overdo it, and that's such an important lesson. Like if you're sitting here and thinking, should I add more recognition to my team? The answer is yes. I mean, if unless you're just super concerned about your team being really soft, that's a whole nother conversation. But celebrate the wins. Like, make sure they're important that you celebrate, but have them happen often. If you can automate them, like we do with you guys and we do internally to push these things to Slack or play a video on a TV, these cost you nothing, and you're recognizing the employee in front of their peers in a fun way. Like, I know you put Miley Cyrus Party in the USA.
Right. That was my song.
By the way, Weird Tie. That's the last song played at our wedding reception, and I was dancing like crazy. I'll own up to that.
Yeah, it in an inexplicable way.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, but for me, like, I'm a really sad Tennessee Volunteer football fan. My video is Peyton Manning scoring a touchdown. Like, everybody has a TV show or a sports team or a song or something that they can play on a TV. And then the other benefit to that is it's like a get to know you. When Sam plays Miley Cyrus Party in the USA, I'm laughing, and then I'm like probably going up and talking to Sam about his Miley Cyrus video. Or I'm trying to pick the other Miley song, you know? So have some fun with it, recognize, make it visible. It costs you very little, and it can be so powerful.
Cool. All right. So then, yeah, like how you guys have like the theme songs play across the sales floor. That's like one of my favorite parts of the Ambition. Also, the Slack notifications are really great. That gets tons of engagement. Every time someone gets a sal, it's on Slack and everyone sees it and everyone reacts to it, and that's awesome. And then this last picture that you see here is the leaderboard that you can make visible all the time. And you can like make this by metrics of sales or revenue closed, but we have monitors all over our office that just make the achievers visible all the time. And it takes no extra time and is extremely motivating. And so,
one thing that I know a lot of managers worry about, Sam, is like, do I have the time to properly recognize my employees? Like, I'm so busy, it's tough to put together that celebration email with all the details or whatever. The Slack piece is automated. The TV is automated. Your employee controls the video that plays, and it's all tied to your data source. So once it's logged, it fires off. So this also saves you a ton of time and promotes the type of culture that you're probably trying to drive. So why not?
Yeah, awesome. And then the other thing, we talked about this before, is when possible, bring in sales leader or executive officers to announce winners. Finding ways to increase visibility to executives costs nothing. The executives are very willing to help out, and it means a lot to the team. So this is just something that people just kind of forget about because it's so easy, but it's a big deal.
I mean, no matter how low of a manager you are, send an email to your boss's boss's boss and just say, "Hey, I'm going to run a competition around this. It's really important to my team and the business for this reason. Do you mind commenting on the competition? I'll remind you." The answer is going to be yes. Even at the biggest company, I used to work for AT&T. Like, I get the red tape and the multiple levels. Those senior leaders want to celebrate, and it makes them feel included, which is also always a win. And it's your chance to connect with them on a very simple thing when you probably don't connect with them that often.
Yep. Absolutely. Cool. All right. Then let's talk about FOMO. Make the rewards something exciting that they would never justify purchasing for themselves. One thing that you guys said that I love is people would get their own billboard. Explain like the context behind this.
This is a crowd pleaser for sure. And we get a lot of questions about this because just no one else really does it. Is that every Q3 we run a billboard competition for AEs, just straight up most closed won ACV in Q3. Billboard of any content anywhere, as long as we can put the Ambition logo on it. Okay, so it doesn't have to be you. But in this example, like I shared earlier, I'm a sad Tennessee football fan. Tennessee was hopefully on the way back, and this is downtown Nashville in this image. This is my head on Peyton Manning, my idol's body. It took our marketing team, 10 minutes to spin up this image. And these digital billboards, it doesn't cost very much. I mean, I think this was $1,500 for a month in downtown Nashville. Yeah.
Wow.
So we probably didn't even have to run it for that long. But so I'm from Nashville. This goes up, all my buddies and friends and family, like, all think this is hysterical. Like, have you seen McWatters' head on Peyton's body in downtown Nashville? So I would never do that for myself. However, when the company did it, it was really fun. And so we do that every year. We had last year, we had 2 winners. One had it in downtown Athens. He's a Georgia fan. Another guy here in Nashville put up a billboard right next to the Titan Stadium asking for a tryout. He didn't get one, but it was like really creative, and he had a lot of fun with it. So these are great examples. And then you're the one who highlights that billboards right now, I mean, they're cheap.
Yeah, right now is a good time to buy billboards.
Yep.
If you're in the market for them, yeah, they're very inexpensive right now. So very cool. And then, yeah, we talked about the steak that you never justified for yourself before, that other outing that you talked about, you get the best chocolate bar in the world. There are certain things that are expensive for what they are that people would never otherwise get for themselves that can be extremely motivating in a way that they can't be. So cool. And then lastly, talk about something unique and memorable. I took my team on a mile-long unicorn ride across Lake Union. And it's funny because for this one, I said, this is a surprise. All I can tell you is it'll probably be your only chance to do it, and you'll never forget it. I said, you want to hit this number because you're never going to forget it. And so they show up, and I made them come on a Saturday. They show up, and there's this 10-foot tall unicorn. And I say, we're going to take it across Lake Union. And we took this all the way across, like a mile-long ride across Lake Union.
I love the hype around, you got to trust me. It's something you've never done before, and you'll never do it again. That is strong.
Yeah, then they're like, okay, well, I guess that's the last time we're trusting Sam. We're all stuck on this unicorn in the middle of Lake Union. But it's pretty fun. It's funny. We're like in the middle of the lake. I was like halfway into the lake. We're like halfway there, like half mile in. And we're like, I wonder what the rules are for float planes landing. Like, I wonder what the airstrip is for that. We're just alone on this lake with our paddles that were way too small on this tiny unicorn. But it all worked out.
I can see it now. Top outreach team drowns in Lake Union on giant duck, goose, whatever,
yes.
Unicorn.
I know that's one of those things where, like, if it works out, that's fine. If it doesn't work out, it's like so irresponsible. Not sure what he was thinking, taking them on a unicorn on Lake Union. He was fired, but it all worked out. I was not fired, so that's all right. Okay, and then something they won't forget. Oh yeah, what was that thing you were talking about there?
So there's a bunch of examples that could be used here, but maybe you've got a guy who's a big golfer. Like, buy him a driver. Every time he goes and plays golf and he uses that driver, that's reinforcement that he works for a great company. I can think of another example that we had just in Q1 this year of I was actually giving away flight vouchers, which now is a funny thought. But when that didn't pan out, he asked me, he said, hey, can I just use that money to buy myself a bike with one of those kid seats on the back? We just moved into a new neighborhood. It's great for biking. And I'm thinking, absolutely. Like, that's exactly what we want to do. Because again, if I give you cash, that's great. Maybe you go buy a stock, or you just put it in your savings, or you go buy groceries. But if I give you a bike, that again is something that continues to give and creates experiences that I would argue goes further than just giving cash.
Love it. Cool. All right. Well, cool. Thanks so much. Had a lot of fun talking about this. Got some good stuff from you. I appreciate you jumping on the show. And cool. Thank you, everyone, for jumping on today. And happy hunting. Have a good rest of your week.